Okay, are we ready? Okay. I was raised in Anchorage in a large Catholic family and have always had a pro-life mindset. I've been married for 41 years and have 5 children, and 4 of them are living. Anchorage is my home, and my concern for the well-being for the people of this community and all the people of this, of the church and everyone, this is why I do what I do. I've been sidewalk counseling in Anchorage on and off for about 25 years. And again, nothing is ever repeated in the sidewalk counseling, so could. What is sidewalk counseling? Well, let's start with what it is not. It's not a picket, and it's important that if there's a picket going on, or like 40 Days for Life, that if you're going to sidewalk counsel, if you have someone just relay a message, please stay right on Lake Otis and I'll go on the side street, so that we're not necessarily affiliated, but they're not overwhelmed signs of what they may. We're there to help them and not make them look like they're, on the spot. So sidewalk counseling is not a picket, and it's not the rally, and it's not a march. So that's the main thing to remember, is those are all wonderful things. But sidewalk counseling is one-on-one, and it's important not to have that interruption. So it's simple, and we've done it in 40 days in the past. They're very helpful. Sidewalk counseling is a compassionate outreach to women in crisis. And that's why they're there. They are not thinking of the baby in the womb. They're thinking of what's going to happen to me. So we have to address them as what's going to happen to them. Not ignoring the baby, but focusing on them. That's why they're there. It's the witness and the dignity of the unborn baby. That's our goal, is to help her deliver her unborn baby. But again, she's not thinking of that. So we have to take her for where she's at. And then it's a reminder of the reality of abortion. It's a real baby and a real mom that is repeated. Just because it's repeated with more women that come does not mean it's a well. Like you've heard some legislators say, oh, abortion's been around forever and still be around. That's a generalization of an individual, and that's not respecting the individual or giving them any dignity. This is a real live situation that only the Holy Spirit can help you through with what you're to say and how to act. Who is best suited to be a sidewalk counselor? As you read through all these descriptions, is anyone that wants to be helpful to a young woman, and sometimes to the fathers. I've experienced in years past, father who came on a bicycle, tore up the street and went racing inside and came out just sobbing. And he said, she won't listen to me and they kicked me out. And he truly was so upset, and he could not change her mind. It was a tragic end. And we talked with him for the longest time. He finally went around back to a dumpster area, and there was a parking lot that paralleled the dumpster area. And I said, I went and just sat on the ground, and he was sitting on the ground, and we just talked. And I said, pray for her, because this is something so tragic that what you're feeling now, one day she will feel. And so just pray that she will not do anything serious like harm herself. But these are real life situations, and it's horrific at some point. And sometimes it's just, they'll go in and not talk at all, and you just keep praying. So before you go to the clinic, it's wise to do some homework. And I'm not saying that you have to learn every single little thing here. Just kind of have a general idea that most of the mothers going in there have a fully ready, a baby that's mostly formed within them, because they can't do an abortion too early or it won't complete the the baby's too little. So they really need to wait closer to the 2-month and 3-month mark for that baby in gestation. So all of these things that you read are present. So you wouldn't have to list all that to the mother. In fact, it may not even be necessary in some situations. But sometimes if they say it was a blob, then you can go to the things that you remember. And I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Juno, but someone had said that in that movie, she talks about the fingernails. And that's what struck her. The counselor said that, you know, your little one has fingernails forming. And it just struck her. So that was something that the Sidewalk counselor, through the Holy Spirit, knew would touch her heart. So it's so important to keep a prayerful, peaceful attitude. Even if they come screaming at you, just stay calm and say, you know, I'm sorry you're upset. Maybe we could talk. Defuse. Whenever you can defuse respectfully, that's the very best thing. And then as we go through the learning of the primary abortion method, the morning after pill is becoming popular, and they explain it like it's, you know, simple, get her done, nobody cares, nobody has to know, it's just one of those things you do. And it's really a slam to the mother, and it makes the uterine wall so hostile that the little one can't adhere to it to start feeding from the mother. So it really is an abortion, because they do most likely the egg and the sperm will join and start the child. That is when at conception, that is when life begins. And the medical system is trying to change that. They're trying to tell you it's after the baby's implanted. So don't worry about it if it's not implanted. That's not true. Scientifically, that's not true. And then the RU486 is another chemical abortion that they say it's just 2 pills and you're fine. But I did a little more research, and it isn't safe or easy. That's the first thing they tell the girl, is it's safe and easy, don't worry about it. Well, there's heavy hemorrhaging, there's nausea, there's vomiting, there's painful contractions, and that's just for the first pill. Then you have to follow up with another pill, and you have to go into the doctor. There's the 2 drugs that you're required to take, and you have 3 trips into the doctor as a general rule. So it's not convenient at all, as they say, and it's not easy. And it won't make abortion rare. That was another excuse that the Planned Parenthood gives is, oh, if we have it like this, then it just makes abortion rare. But what it does is it makes it easier for abortionists to think, well, I can do this. It's not so bad. So they come on board and do more abortions. And it's so horrible for a woman to have that amount of hormone in them. It's not just that reaction. Those things don't go away, and they're heavy on your system. So there's nothing good about them, nothing at all. And we've got to portray that to a girl. When she says, oh, I'm just going to have the RU486 and it'll be real simple. Well, it's not. So that we have to make clear to them. And then there's the 6 to 12 weeks, the most common form of abortion, which is the D&C. And that is when a girl goes in, most likely will be the form of abortion she's going to have, unless she chooses the other forms. But it's the unknown is really hard when you go in. So you could even ask questions. Do you know what kind of abortion you're going to have? Do you know what's going to happen to your body? Because they tell you all these procedures with anything else. They're going to tell you when you have something medically done, they'll tell you the steps they're going to take and what's going to happen. Not with this. They just say it's easy, it's, convenient, and all those lies. So this actually does, this form of abortion suctions the baby and rips them to pieces. So if you can get that across to them without sounding like you're calling them a murderer, because that's really what's happening. But if you come across judgmentally, they're going to walk the other way. So try to be factual and say, you know, they're not going to tell you that this happens. And then the other big key to this is many times, especially for younger women, they'll put in what's a laminaria so that they can open the womb more, and that's put in a day before. So if you can tell this, get in touch with this woman as she comes out, or she's, I'm just going in for the laminaria. If you can get her to get to a doctor, and an emergency room would help you get that laminaria out. They'll.
In that specific instance, the doctors often tell the mothers a lot.
Yes.
Once the laminaria is inserted, you're past the point of no return.
Exactly.
And so our counselors should be honest with that it is not food.
Exactly. That's very important to tell them. They'll say the laminaria can't be removed. That is the lie. It can be, and they can be helped, and they can change their mind and be relieved. Sometimes the laminaria, if it's left in long enough, might poison the baby, but at least they know that they didn't go in and have it suctioned and ripped to pieces. So it's important, as Mr. Bird says, do not let them think, well, you know, it's done, because there's a way out of that.
What is that?
It's like a little, what's that?
They're compressed seaweed sticks.
Yes. Yeah. With the mucus of the body, they expand over time, and that will open the area for them to go in with their instruments and suction. It's horrific, and none of this is talked about. They just say, this is what we do, you'll be fine, everything's easy, tomorrow it'll all be over, blah blah. So if we can get to that point, it's not often that you can get to that point to talk to a girl in that detail, but if you can, it's vital to know these things. And if you have to bring a little information along in a leaflet and say, see, this happens here, then you wouldn't even have to memorize it. You can just say, see, this is what's going on in your womb right now. But you got to get to the point of befriending them before that even comes up. So the 9 and 11 week maturity is like this. And they have babies downstairs in a basket. You can show this to them and say, this is about the size of your baby. If they're willing to listen to you, give them all the information you can. And this is the form of your baby. It's not just, you know, this blob that they keep telling you. So these things are helpful. And again, you may not even get to the point of that part of a discussion, but it's good to know if you do. So, and then it says, know your crisis pregnancy center. This information I was able to get from another PowerPoint from Ann Scheidler in Chicago. I told her what I was doing. I had received a newspaper and from the Pro-Life Action Ministry, and I was reading and I thought, oh, this is powerful information. So I called her up and told her I had this event coming, and she sent me her own PowerPoint through an email and said, use all of it, use any of it, and, you know, take what you want out of it. And so we did. And this is the picture of course, it's a nice sunny day there, so you're not going to recognize it right now. But it's supposed to look like that. But they're right up the street. I don't know if I wasn't aware of them for a while. In fact, it was Barbara Johnson who had told me they're right up the street. And yes, and they're willing to help. Their hours are not as convenient all the time, but we'll get to the hours in a few minutes. So the next thing is, when you go to a clinic, you've got to go as a servant. You're there serving God. And the more compassionate you are, truly compassionate, the more you'll soften a girl's heart. It's so important to be, may I help you? Let's just talk. Will you take my information? Things like that, and we'll get to that part too. But have this spirit of hopefulness, because they are feeling like, I have no other choice. This is it. I've tried everything else. My boyfriend says this, my mother says that. They have tried different things, and this is so critical. So consider yourself the servant that is there to help them. and to just show them that compassion, because most likely they haven't had anybody show them that caring. So the approach, it's very important to go with 2 people, not more than 2 people, but 2, because it's for your own well-being. A clinic worker could come out and say, she, call an officer, she did this, she said that, she screamed at me, she used obscenities, she tried to hit me. You're all by yourself. Your word against theirs is not good, and most likely they'll have 2 clinical workers coming out. So it's important to have 2 people for many reasons. Those are the first that you can think of. And if you have more than that, one person is not likely to come over to you with 3 people standing there. They're going to feel like, what are they going to say here? This is overwhelming. So it's good to just have the 2 people. And then if you're with someone and they start this conversation with a girl and you think, oh, wow, she should hear this. So you blurt out something that you remember. That breaks up this communication that is comfortable maybe, or beginning to be comfortable. So try not to interrupt. And if you can wait for a pause and then turn to the counselor and say, what about, would you like to tell her this? It's important to have just a one-on-one connection, so much so that it's even not a bad idea for the partner to walk away a little bit and let them talk, but be within earshot, so you can, be sure and say, she did not say that to you. So that kind of thing helps them with this one-on-one communication. You're trying to reach their soul. You're trying to get to their compassion within. So that's the whole purpose, is to bring them to you to see if you can talk. And many times, most often, they'll just, either ignore you or say, what do you want? Or, I'm just here for the doctor upstairs. I always just say, I'm sorry to bother you. Would you like this information? Because you may know someone in a difficult situation sometime. You could just have it on hand. However you can casually interact is good. And then be ready to listen to their circumstance. They may come out screaming. You don't know what I'm going through. My boyfriend said he's going to break up with me. I can't do this. Listen, and then say, whatever the Holy Spirit prompts you to say at that time, because he will tell you. But be ready to come across with something kind, logical, and comforting that will let her see that it doesn't have to be like this. The boyfriend does not have the say. It's your child, not, and it is his also, but he doesn't have the jurisdiction over what you do. And that's one thing I've found sometimes. If a couple goes in and I say, could I talk with you, or would you like some information? The guy turns back and says, we're not interested. I automatically go back with, how about you, ma'am? Because he can't speak for her. I mean, he does, but what kind of respect is that for a woman to have that condescending attitude? So I want them to see that I'm interested in her and not trying to defuse whatever he's going to bell her. So be friendly and non-condemning, and you will find that they may come over and talk. And if they don't want to talk, they say, if I'm in a hurry, just hand them this, just read this at your convenience and get that information to their hands, because that's when they sit, because most times they have to wait. You can sit and flip through this and start thinking without anybody around to bug them. They can start processing the other side of the story. So, of course, it says offer help. And then in that, you could say, would you like to come down to the CPC office with me? We could just visit there and kind of go over things, and or maybe go have a cup of coffee if they're not open. Just things that try to be casual and try to relate right to her. And then it is very helpful. I have my packets. And I always take one out. One's always in my hand, and I have it ready. And so if she's willing to look at it, I'll start opening it up and show her, because you've got to be wise too. Sometimes the workers will come over and they'll say, oh, what do you have? Okay, I'll take one. Well, then they're going to toss it right in the trash. You've put a lot of money and work into this, so you got to be kind of careful. And so if you go through each one and see their reaction, it's like, I don't want to hear this, I don't like this, then you know, well, maybe next time, you know, you could take one of these and think about it. Just casually get out of that situation, because you don't want this tossed. And it has happened right in front of my eyes before. Wow. Okay, I learned from that one.
Have you ever tried the fact of having a pro-life couple enter the clinic with a boyfriend asking questions about cost while the girl finds magazines or places where you can flip pro-life living?
Oh, wow. I've not been that bold, and I don't know anybody. How about anybody in the room? Would you like to do it? What did you say? You've done it before? Oh my goodness, here in Anchorage?
Yeah.
Which clinic was it? The one on 42nd?
42nd.
Yeah.
Suppose that the father wanted a daughter to get an abortion?
No, I just walked in and it's from the street. That's a big help. I just want to say going on.
They didn't quick march you out of it.
Well. And it's not like you're next in line for an abortion, so you're just a casual guy coming in. That's wise. Any other gentlemen that would like to try this?
Anyway, see this young couple, these people here.
Yeah.
They're too clean cut. You gotta go on with the cowboy.
Oh yeah. Rip up your jeans, get them dirty. You gotta look the part. Okay, we're not here to put anybody on the spot, but think about it. But there's little tricks that you'll learn along the way that are very helpful in getting your message across and making sure it's not getting into the wrong hands. It's not super likely that that'll happen, but it has happened. So be wise as servants. So the next thing is what you say to them. Every situation is different. If it's a young couple, I'll say, hi there. If it's a mother and a daughter, I'll say, hello, may I speak with you? You know, try and be a little more professional. This depends on the situation and what our Lord says, this sounds right. And then keep the message to, if you can just get them to take this. Just, you know, you want to just take this and read it inside. And then one of these suggestions here, excuse me, do you folks know about the Community Pregnancy Center? Their services are free and they're right up the street. So that's something that could be an introduction. You'll know when you see that each situation is so different. And if you see a guy come out, maybe light up a cigarette, you could say, sir, is your girlfriend inside the clinic? You don't want to say wife, because if it's a wife, he'll say, oh, it's my wife. But if it's not a wife, he'll say, well, it's none of your business. So you kind of got to play the words carefully, but the whole idea is to just get to chatting with them. And I have had some good conversations with these men that kind of are willing to listen. And some, you don't want the conversation to be repeated. It's not so good. But that's not always common. It's once they say something really abrupt and rude, you just say, never mind, or you know, or nothing at all. Just step back. So there's lots of different things that you can say that can prompt the beginning of it, and nothing you say is wrong. So just try to get that communication going. So the next sign is this one you all recognize from Lake Otis as you're traveling south, from north to south on Lake Otis. That's what this sign looks like. And so I just wanted to point it out that, and that's probably along that sidewalk where all that snowbank is. That's where the 40 Days for Life usually are walking back and forth with their signs. So then the next picture will show us us standing across from the doorway to Planned Parenthood's entrance. And it's not really their entrance, it's the entrance into the building. but they're to the immediate left. So that it's there that you want to stand if you see a girl go in and you think, well, maybe she'll come back out, or if you see someone standing around having a cigarette, you just want to kind of prompt them to come and talk and be as casual as you can and non-confrontational. And that's kind of where I would stand. And then the next picture will show where I begin, most likely, unless I see some action when I get there. But that's where I stand and watch for the cars coming in and out, and I'll just hold this up. And most likely you're going to get no response at all. But then you see where they park, and you can go walk across the parking lot. No, don't walk across the driveway and go down to the area I was pointing out, and just kind of feel where you should be and be aware, just constantly aware.
Parking lot and put something.
Is it private or public?
Private.
Have you ever walked in and been confronted if you stepped over their line?
Not at this one. At the other one, 42nd, quite often. They are happy to send the police, and I explain where I know I can walk, and I got to ask you these questions, ma'am. They made a report, and I got to finish the report and tell them what you said.
Often enough that you have learned that a client is warned about you when they're on the phone. Don't talk to those people.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's why you don't even need a sign. You're standing right there, they'll say, I know who you are. I know what you're up to. So their guard is up right away. But that's where you want to soften them. You want to soften them, and you want to touch their soul. Just God wants them. And they really want to change their mind. They just don't know how. So if we can be that conduit to help them change their mind as peacefully as we can, it's just a benefit that's indescribable. So those are the areas that I'm talking about. Do you recognize where this is on the street, on that new? Okay, yeah, I'm sure you would. That I don't even remember the number or the name of that. 40th? Thank you. That's the street that you parallel and walk kind of back and forth. And if it's a freezing day, I suggest you just walk slowly back and forth and constantly be aware of going in and coming out. You want to watch, and even if they're, people that are not there for an abortion, be willing to talk with them. It's okay. Just, may I talk with you? And just be aware all the time that this is your job for that hour or two, that whatever you can stand in the cold, that's your focus. And so if someone says, well, I'll meet up with you, we'll, be a partner for an hour, and you haven't seen them in a few months, oh, how are the kids? Oh, how's this? How's that? Try not to do that. If you do, just make it a real snippet and then get right to the prayer, because this is a deadly area, and God needs our prayers. He needs us to be focused, and like I said in one of my parts in here, Satan's inside, so God has to be outside to really try to purge. So it's can everyone understand where I'm talking about then for that clinic where it's ideal? It's not important that you stand there, but that's where I found the most productive access. Practicalities. Like I was saying before, yes.
Have you ever gotten into the parking lot and
No, and there's a portion of this that was in that PowerPoint that I got from Ann Scheidler from Chicago. Remember your mission. Your mission is to talk to a woman and not have to talk to police. When you're talking to police, well, inside they're like, look at there, and they get all the people worked up, and they're all against you. It gives a bad aura. So if you don't have to, that might be for another situation, not sidewalk counseling. If you want to be at a picket or something else, but sidewalk counseling is different. So if you can keep that in mind, it's helpful. Oh, Barb, I'm sorry.
We did not realize that we could not walk on in their area.
3 police cars and they're coming after you, because I don't want to scare you guys, but they love to get a reaction. They love to say, well, I'll go home and I'll never come back. That's what they want to hear out of you.
One time, police came out to me off the sidewalk. They thought I was you.
Wow, thank you. That's it.
But they were very, the police was very polite, and then went in and explained to people in the building that I had recognized them.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
You don't always get that response. So that's, and I'm not saying the police are against you. They just have all of this hounding inside when they go inside. They're just, you know, you got to go tell them this, you got to, whatever they say to them, they get them worked up and they come out, okay, we have to talk to you. You know you can't do this. You know you can't do that. Where were you standing? And they just go through the litany of all these things. And always be in the proper place and always be kind and polite. And it was in one of her PowerPoints, she said, if an officer has an axe to grind and he comes up to you and it pushes you to the point where, you know, he's going to arrest you if you don't leave. Leave. Ann Scheidler says, leave, get all the information you can, and remember, you got to go back and prosecute. But the point is, you're not there to get thrown in jail. You're there for the mothers. So it can be real sticky, and it's not very common that would even happen. I've not ever had it happen to me in all the years I've been there. So, but that's one of the things she put in her PowerPoint was, you know, yeah.
One thing that is important about that situation is that the cop never tells you they call and take video of their life. They are always allowed to take video of a police officer on their specialty. Yeah, no reason why they privacy, which is the balance.
That's good to know. That's good to know. I'm glad. Yeah, sure. And very possible. So yes, you want to smile and curtsy and all that fun stuff.
You want to go over, like, where, you know, you're showing pictures here. So where you can stand is what, public sidewalk?
Yeah, is there?
Area so the people try to start on.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's right along here. You wouldn't want to go that way because it's just away from it. But you can walk across here and walk down this sidewalk, and you know, as far down as that door that we were talking about, and back again. That's an area that's totally open, and everybody knows that. It's much more restricted than it was on 42nd. But on 42nd, you didn't have specifics. I mean, there's no way you can climb that wall. Where on 42nd, it was like, oh, did I step over the line? Oh, brother. So here, you don't have to worry about that. I know, you just, the stuff.
Cars pulling in.
Always.
And they can take it
At times. It's not the norm, but they have at times. But you want to be careful. If it's the clinic worker saying, sure, I'll take it, and she tosses it. So you just got to watch, and if you can, if you can get them to stop and say, let me show you what I have, that's a little more specific. That really does help you not toss that one in the trash. So it does. You do. Hello?
What did you guys say, like, what do you call it? Like, yeah.
Oh, it's not very, it's, yeah, person, yeah.
People use them and it works.
Yeah.
The man downstairs in that video had a popcorn microphone.
Yeah.
I call him that because they used to hold popcorn in a ball.
Holler. Well, I've got a pretty loud voice. Ask my kids. And I just, hello, could I give you some information, please? Just don't be afraid to holler the first words, and then if they don't respond, yes, but I did learn that you can have a megaphone. It's not against the law not to.
Which one of these, like, living in the building, do you know which windows are?
I do. Yes. That's why I went down. If you go down, well, from this angle, all of this is theirs. So in the other picture, Jared, could you go back to that other? Here. So that's the entrance, and their door is to the left. And you can't even get in their door. They have to buzz you in. I think there's a phone or some way of them buzzing you and it's all bolted up.
But you know, it's, people sitting inside, like in the waiting room, you can hear from the outside.
They can't hear, but they can see through the windows. I don't think they can hear unless you're bellowing, you know, or there's a big fight or the police, you know. So, no, I don't think they can. But that is their section of the building. I do not know if it's upstairs or not. If anyone, it's not upstairs? Good, good.
How far along do they do abortion?
They say 12 weeks is the cutoff, but you know, if they can kill a child, they can fudge. They may go up to 13 and even 14. I do not know, but I wouldn't put it past them.
Is there free pregnancy tests if you're considering abortion?
No. You'll pay for that test.
I did pay for mine.
At Planned Parenthood?
Yeah, but she wasn't here. No, but like Parenthood, I guess like anywhere, I can go free pregnancy test depending on your income. And I got a free pregnancy test. It was here. It was at the that's right. That's not Planned Parenthood. I went in there. Oh, it was? No, at the bus stop. So it's downtown, like in Anchorage. Yeah. Yeah, it's I forgot what it's called, but
Yeah.
it's not Planned Parenthood.
Right. It's run by the city.
Offer free pregnancy testing and different things.
Yeah.
There. Oh,
But they don't abortion. But they don't do abortions there.
it wasn't exactly that.
Yeah.
That it is how much abortion was this? I don't know. The one in San Diego, I know. The one in San Diego, I know that you get free pregnancy.
I'm
And
all.
then they use lots of paper news saying that you want abortion. This is how much it costs.
How much was it? Do you
I
remember?
don't even remember saying,
Yeah. Oh, good.
So I
Yeah. Well, yeah. This is the access that you can, the closest access you can get, and the hollering is just a must. But I'm almost positive it's not a free test, and so
There's some kind of a stairway upstairs so that they can go up the stairway either side.
really,
Yeah, upstairs there's like a walkway and then they come down and they go out back so there's smoke and their break.
oh,
I noticed there's a kind of a walkway where they can go in either way.
so the
But this
side,
is the main entrance.
yeah, and the workers probably go on the side door more so.
I've seen workers at the back.
Yes, yes. And if you go back to that other picture, Jared, if you look, I think the trees are blocking it. Right about, let me just show you, just for the sake of knowing, Barb Johnson pointed this out to me. Right back in here seems like an alley, but it says dead end. She said, look at that, dead end. Isn't that real? That's what it is. It's a dead end there. I mean, inside, it's a similarity there.
Do we have escorts at this?
Not usually, but last summer, a woman came over. She's probably between 25 and 30, and from a village, she said, and she was talking with us, and she said, yeah, I'm going in here for an abortion. Well, I mean, you just don't often hear that. It just struck us, and so we said, oh no, and I don't remember. I was so shocked what exactly we said, but we couldn't get her to connect with us. She said, I'm fishing. I got to fish, this summer. I'm a fisherman. And that interrupted all of it. I said, it's just a little increment of time now. I mean, we talked back and forth kindly. Pretty soon an escort came over here. Come on, whatever her name was, let's go in. And so we called her name back and said, you don't want to do this. You really don't want to do this. And she was walking her quickly in, so we just got whatever words we could say.
What do you usually hear? People going, you don't usually hear people going, oh yeah, I'm going to abortion, but what?
If they do talk to you,
Yeah.
I'm just here for the pill.
Okay.
Or I'm just here for my contraception. And we do like to talk to them about that because contraception is an abortifacient. And it's terrible for the body, and it's been proven to cause breast cancer. All those hormones and the Norplant, all those things are so awful to the body that it's not good.
Gateway anyway.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
fail.
Failed contraception leads to no conception, no baby. It's just that mentality. And that's what our society is steeped in.
Do you hear from
lot that, they'll go in there and they'll say, oh, I'm not here for an abortion, or I don't believe in abortion, or I'm pro-life, or something, as they walk in. And you hear that from people. I just hear that from people all the time, and I would be like, well, you know that they perform abortions here, right? The same doctor that
I have said that on the way out, they're willing to tell me mostly, if I recall, mine were on the way out. And I would say, you know, there's really some good doctors in town. And I would give names, and my doctor I happen to know by heart. So I'd give the name and phone number and give it to him. So, yeah.
you have, like, people on ambulance, pro-life doctors in the area, somebody is here for just some kind of, other kind of OB care.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I don't have in my information, but it's a good tip. I should get a little list and just stick it in there and have it for, yes.
I just wanted to say, Alaska Life is working on free tennis for the area, but also,
Good.
that's something that we really want to say. People that ask me.
I was just gonna turn right now,
Yeah.
you guys have it.
Yeah, and we do have a list, it's very outdated, so it has to be updated a lot. So.
Keep in mind, there is no doctor in this town that I'm aware of, and I would really jump at the opportunity, that will not prescribe abortifacients, the birth control pill. I don't know of any. In Wasilla there is, but not here. Yes, Honeman. Yes, Henneman. Yes. She's not an OB doctor? Okay. So yeah, she would be open. If you want to make a trip to Wasilla, go for it. How often do you have to go to the doctor? Oh. But her name, you could Google Honeman, and I would advise it, because that's what you want to support, who you want to support. So then the other thing I have here is be prepared to drive someone to that clinic. When you go to this clinic for your hour or whatever amount of time you can go, if you've got a dentist appointment at 3 o'clock and you're there from 1:30 to 2:30, go after your dentist appointment. What if something comes up and you think, I got to get to my dentist appointment? Those are things that you think through before you make plans to go. Nothing should be in the way afterward in case you have a save. It's life-changing, and you don't want to, well, I can't do this. I've got an appointment. So that's real critical, not to set that up.
And we did at least once get a gal that's going in for an abortion to a doctor and have her Latin area removed.
Yes.
And it turned out her baby had already died, but she was very relieved that she had the Latin area removed and that she didn't follow through with the abortion.
I think I was with you that day. Dr. Thompson, we took her to. Dr. Robert Thompson did that for us, because I remember going in the office with you. Yes. And that's another thing. There may have been a baby that they're carrying that isn't alive anymore, and they'll say, well, you need an abortion. They won't tell her the baby's not alive. You need an abortion. They're going to get big bucks, and they're going to leave you with guilt, and you don't know. So tell them that too. You don't know. Ask them to see the sonogram when they're supposed to do a sonogram. If you can ask to see that sonogram, not only will it show your baby's alive, or maybe not, but it will connect you to your baby.
Looking at your list, have you tried this? It's worked in some cities where the physical layout of what Sidewalk is different, much more.
Yeah.
Pro-life council is the kind of sign that says re-abortion. And clients coming in think it's a welcoming entry-level literature from the clinic.
So what would you have that's free abortion
You
literature?
might have, I don't want to say sandwich board, because that's a little less dignified and professional. But we've tried that some places. You could just have somebody holding a sign, a placard, your partner or something, free abortion info here. Or like, before you go in, here's your abortion act. Just a thought.
Just a thought.
That might be, it's worth experimenting to see if it gets more people willing to take
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I have not done in years
You're not
past.
saying pro-life, you're saying free abortion.
Yes, and I came across a picture the other day that was, I don't know how old, but I was pretty young looking at it, and here I was with a little sign that said, "Come talk, please come talk. We can help." And I thought, I forgot all about that sign. I don't even know where it is now. But I have used signs in the past. But I have had the counselors with me, like Kim Siren said, yeah, I don't think you should have a sign because they know why we're here. And I think a sign makes them, especially, she said, if they come over across the parking lot and the people in the clinic see you talking, they're embarrassed about talking to someone with a sign. That to them is another message of, what are you doing here? It's a confrontation that they might not want.
You have to weigh it, you have to weigh all
You do.
the risks.
You do, and I'm not opposed to what you're saying. I just haven't done it. Yeah. Capstone. Good. And thank you. And I'm sure she'll promote the natural family planning, which I can't promote enough. Natural family planning is the key to marriages and to making your married life easier. I mean, I'm not opposed to having little ones. I'm not, some people say I have enough money, I can have, a little one whenever I want, and that's perfectly. But there are some people who budget and say I've got to space them. I'm sorry, you were going to say something? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
The best sign should say, "Welcome to Planned Parenthood. Your pre-abortion info is here."
You've been thinking about that one, I can tell. Again, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not. It just kind of depends on what your approach might be. But Dr. Billings' ovulation method is the best I've ever known, and we used it in our family, and it's dynamite. Okay, where are we? Cell phones with cameras. Almost never do you need it, but if you do, you have it. It's just a little comfort zone. If a boyfriend comes over and starts screaming and hollering at you, you can just say, "Oh, taking your video, mister." So just calm down, and don't say mister, because that just sounds disrespectful. I mean, that's my first thought is, come on, buddy. But you don't do that. So I'm just not comfortable with aggressive guys. So that's my first stupid thought. Now, the better one is just never mind. Just go back to where you were. Never mind. But the camera is real helpful, very helpful in those situations, and or the little video going. So, but only if there's problems. Women don't want to think that they're going to be recorded or taken a picture of as they go into a clinic like that. So we don't normally want to do that. And then this says, and this was from Ann's, do not wear pro-life sweatshirts. She said t-shirts, and I thought Alaska sweatshirts. So she said because it can put them off right from the get-go. I mean, it's a wonderful message. I have one that says, wouldn't it be better to have a baby in your arms rather than on your conscience? I love that one. But I can't wear it out there. I mean, it would just make someone feel awful if they had had an abortion. And I'm not there to make them feel awful. I mean, they take that on themselves, and it's not good. So we're there to be kind. And project a professional demeanor. You wouldn't go from the baseball field over there and with your tattered tennis shoes and, I mean, I guess I'm just saying, be clean and know that this is God's work. He wouldn't take it so casually if it were not his work. You want to make sure that people take you seriously, and you're you don't have to dress up, don't get me wrong. It's just look the part of someone who knows what they're talking about and has a good demeanor about them. That's all. And try to stay at least an hour. Were you going to say something, Barbara? I'm sorry.
I have not seen this done right, but I've heard it done other places. For somebody that might not be right next to the side of the hospital, maybe they can bring out a sign. But I have a sign saying, pregnant, be healthy.
I want that number. I made a phone call to the one that was on their website, and it said it's not working. I called the office and said, why am I getting this number? Why am I getting this response on this number? And she said, I think the East Coast is having problems with their connections. But that's all she knew. She was guessing at that, and I thanked her. But I would like to compare the phone number you have, because that is critical. You can. Yes. 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 And what we're working on now is to try and get a phone number that can be texted. So when they get inside, they could text somebody and have a conversation through a text. It's private. Nobody has to know. I tried to set that up with the Community Pregnancy Center this last week, and she said, we don't have that yet, because you can't just have any texting going on. You've got to make sure that it's being logged and proven that there's a lot of legal things that I had no clue. So they're working on it. What's that? Yeah. Anything is, they can say anything. So that's being worked on, but I would like to get that phone number from you, because that's important. If you can have a phone number, and the other thing we were going to do for the texting idea, but we could do it with this phone number, is get a little business card and those very words on it, and have that phone number, and just put it in your info. And if they say, I don't want your info, then say, just take my business card. That is a good idea. I have this one. My name is Shirleen. I am concerned about you and your baby. Talk to me before you decide to end his life. Call me at my phone number. So, and I'm open for rewording. This one's like as old as I don't remember when I got it, or who gave it to me. So I could do some different wording if that sounds a little, you're not talking to the woman, you're talking about the baby again, and the woman wants to talk about herself.
One thing I know about they won't have their phone number on the card. Write down the number and a lot more personal to have your handwriting on there.
Oh.
So I know, I have this big training there, and I wasn't having handwriting on there, write down they don't have to name your name on there. They have like company or whatever. They have but they do want you to write your name, your number, your email back.
I agree. Mine is written in, but maybe it would be better if I left it blank and then wrote it in for them when I was there. Something to that point. That's a good point to make. Wow. That's a very good point. Very good point. Plus, you can look at it and recall. Sometimes you get these cards. Who is this? Oh, when did I do that? I'm terrible about that stuff. It's awful. The memory just is not there. So, okay. Did we cover everything? Yeah. Okay. Must-haves. The Community Pregnancy Center information. And I spent 3 different days there last week and didn't pick up one piece of their information. I got home on Thursday afternoon. They're closed Friday. I thought, oh shoot, I didn't get any of their leaflets. So they've got some of them right up front, and that's something that we can pick up at some point. And then you can have them there, so they'll see it's right up the street. And then a leaflet with the fetal development. The one that I have in this one, I have a few different ones that were given to me by Ann Scheidler sent me a box of samples of things that was just very generous. And then Right to Life has a beautiful setup of things. This was Right to Life's that they have. And you just, it slips right in your things there, and you can just glance through and just show them. You don't have to read verbatim. Just say, look, these are real live pictures. These are real babies. And that's what your baby looks like. So that's if you get to that point. It's marvelous if you do.
They don't think of this as a real thing, and it's just something, it's a problem that they're experiencing. And I don't know, one thing that seems to catch a lot of people's attention when the people that I talk to is reminding them, you're already a mother.
You're already a mother.
You are a mother, and or you're dressing them instead of man, it's hey mom, like. That one thing to let them know that they're already a mother.
That's a very good point. And you might even add, what is your problem here? Let's talk through your problem, Mom. Because,
The baby is not the problem.
well, to her it is.
A consequence of it.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So if you can get to that point of the discussion, that's vital. And that's a very good idea. Just to kind of, you realize you're a mother. And you'll always be a mother. Just because you killed this child does not mean that that child is, oblivion, nothing. It's there to remind you once you start thinking about it. And then here we are with the fetal model again. And they are downstairs in baskets. I think Haley had the kids do up like 100 of them. So I don't know if there's a little donation for them, but they're great to have. I keep one in my coat pocket, and a sister friend of mine made a little blanket for it. And I also have to slip it out of the blanket and show it to them, and I tuck it back in because it's personal that way. And when in Alaska, it's always chilly. So works. What was that last thing you said? Oh, okay. So where's this at that I could get them? Is that up the street here? Oh, Heritage House. I've got their magazine. Yeah, I do. It just hit me. Yeah, that's good to know. And because you can go online and get these magazines, and they'll send them to you for nothing. And you can see what, hey, I like this. This is my message to someone. This is mine. And just bounce it off someone and say, what do you think of this? Because you don't want to offend someone. I mean, you're really there and it's a learning process all the time. So, but that's a real good idea, that heritage. And then your physical positioning is another one here. Never block the driveway or trespass on the private property. Stay on the public right of way. And we've already talked about that. Does anybody have any things they want to add? The more professional you are in what you're doing, the less confrontational I think that they will be from inside, or you can just continue your professionalism when you're called and here they come. Just, stand your ground politely and know your rights, and this is public property right here. So if they do, just know that they're aggravated because you're doing something that they don't want going on. You're affecting them inside. Anytime, even if no one comes to you and you think, well, that was a bum day. No, you're standing in front of them. And that, yes. And that right there, that's a message. And again, it's not about me standing there. It's about God's presence. God's presence.
I would like your assessment.
Oh.
Like sometimes like a fireman or a soldier waiting to go into battle, will help serve in that battle and never saw me there. Nothing happened. Oh! It's happened!
Yes.
And my experience is that it's a low percentage, but everything is packed into
moment.
So what percentage do you get there?
Are we talking a year length of time?
Yep, what would you say?
About every other year or every third year? It's been,
You have somebody who you can say.
I had to save. Yeah.
And how many times though are you out there? So are you talking
Once a week. 1 out of 100? No, that's too good. I hate to say it, but it's been probably 3 years since I've helped a girl. And now I don't go every week anymore because of this lousy weather, because of not getting a partner. I've got a room full of yikes. We can do this. So, and the best part.
You have more personnel. You got
Exactly. And the more you learn, the more you can say, come on, I've got a pretty good idea. I think I'm okay in doing this. So just, it's not like you have to be a master at it, but the organization I've been in for 37 years is the Legion of Mary, and we meet once a week. It's a prayer meeting, and we are sent out to do 2 hours of work a week and come back the next week at our prayer meeting and report what we did. Mine has been sidewalk counseling for years, but some of the times with this ice, or I cannot go 10 degrees or colder. You're out there 15 minutes and you're like, I gotta go home. I bundled in snowsuits and 3 pairs of mittens and the whole shebang. I was like, gotta go home. You just can't, and it takes you all day to get your body warm again. So it's one of those things that you kind of figure out what you can do and what you can't do, and listen to it, because you're going to end up sick in bed thinking, well, I tried. So it's real important to try to be out there at least an hour in this cold, but that's where that walking slowly back and forth, especially if there's no one around, can really help. Always. Never go alone. And if you go and there's 40 days for life and there's like a whole slew of people out there, say, hey, I don't have a partner. Instead of going 40 days, why don't I pick somebody out and come with me and pray with me over here and just don't talk. And I can sidewalk counsel and you can do this. Listen, I've done it and it works great. That way you're not trying to. That I know of, no. If you try and get information out of it, anybody that wants to go on the sly and try and find out some information, I'll give you my email or my phone number and let me know. Because yeah. Well, then just say, I can't afford it. See if they will listen to you. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Take a friend in. No. I'm almost positive. That's something you could find out. You 2 girls go in and let me know what you find out. I'm real curious because you can't get to them. You just can't get to them.
Has anybody tried talking to them online? Because there's a live chat on St. Patrick's Week.
I have not. I didn't know that there was. They're pretty guarded. Yeah, they're on to us. That's just the nature of the beast.
I'm also seeing, not sidewalk counseling per se, but either picketing or just going to pray. I have seen where couples come in and they look like they're kind of having a really big discussion and then they end up driving off. And I'm sure it's the same with the sidewalk counseling. Having a Christian presence, you're coming carrying the presence of God, and it's going to have an effect even if you don't see.
Yes. That's very true. I have seen that happen before. Here's a key part of that. Keep praying for them, because one of them might talk the other one into it later on the next day and they would end up back there. So keep praying. This is a praying time. I can't accentuate it enough. It's critical. And no, and that's one of the things when I say no, it's one of the things on the list that we're coming up to. And she says, right here, evangelization is not the first priority. I would never be opposed to it. But if they say, God did this to me, you say, whoa, wait a minute. God is a loving God, and he allowed you to have this child. And it was from whatever behavior you had that's a consequence, but don't blame the child. You can lead into it, but from their perspective. But if you bring God into it, you're judging me, and I don't want to hear it most of the time.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Years ago, but at the same time, I kind of feel that the whole everything around the room is there, the sacrifice and all, they just didn't. Isn't the gospel really the only answer to
No, it's not the only answer, because God has put you as his instrument to use the gospel in the way that you can see is the appropriate time. And you don't want to, you can go through the conversation and see how she's doing with reception. If she's being pretty receptive, then you could try and say, have you prayed about this? Do you think that God wants you to do this? Something like that might be a softer way of coming into a conversation.
He was saying there are conversations, there are sometimes when they're in the gospel, it's not.
Yeah, many times it wouldn't be, because first off, the girl that's gotten there, if she's led a promiscuous life, the last thing she's thinking of is God. In fact, God might be the enemy. Okay, tell me what you think.
Because I'm not a promiscuous life. There and drugs and everything, and I knew I was a sinner, but I had no one that would tell me how to get out of that sin. No.
Okay. Okay.
They want a way out. And I come from
Good point.
also kind of the same situation, and I also had two abortions when I was in high school. And I feel like now, I have nobody to share that this, what you're doing is sin. This is, this is murder. Like, nobody would straight up want to do that. And I feel like that would have had an impact.
It's such a difference.
It is. It is.
Because we can also find people who say, if they had brought up the gospel to me right there, I'd walk away.
I've heard that.
So, you got to read that and let the Holy Spirit.
Let the Holy Spirit guide you into it. And if it's a blank wall, leave it a blank wall. If it's like, hey, what if I said it like this? Then try that. It's so delicate, though. It's so delicate. And I'm not trying to leave our Lord out of it, because that's why you're there, to save his child. But there are guidelines. And if you can follow those guidelines, and here's an example. Ann Scheidler said that she was, and this is on her YouTube video, which is going to be coming up, or it's in the booklet too. She puts out a video, and she said she got a phone call from a woman who said, I want to sidewalk counsel with you. And she said, okay, I'm going to go 2 o'clock on Wednesday. Can you meet me? And she said, sure. She said, almost always the girls never show up. She showed up. She said, oh, great. So they introduced each other, and then they went out to the sidewalk. Okay. This man and a woman a young gal, both of them young, went inside the clinic. They were trying to talk to him. They went inside. The guy came out for a cigarette. And in her location, the way it happened to be, they could get right up close to him. I guess the sidewalk was right by the door. So they were standing there, and she saw him light. And she said, say, could I talk to you while you're having a cigarette? Just, a little chat. So he came over. And they started a mild conversation, and she was kind of, listening and working into a wonderful conversation. And I guess something happened to where he said something about, well, we're going to go back inside. I'm going to go back inside. And she grabbed the girl that was with her, grabbed his arm, and said, don't do it, don't go, don't let him kill that baby, don't. She just came unglued. And he jerked away and ran in. And she was so fortunate that she didn't call the police on her. But she turned to the woman and said, honey, we can't do that. You can't do that to this. You can't grab it. You can't touch anybody. And then she broke down and cried. And she said, I had an abortion in there last year. and I want to help him. She said, we've got to go through a healing for you to help you heal within so that you can help here. But that reaction is going to scare people away and land you in jail. So those kinds of things are what she had told me, that it's important to be calm and know how to present it and know what the Holy Spirit's telling you to say and how to say it. Because I'm not opposed to it. I just think that you got to really tiptoe through. So the Know Your Rights is the next one. Was that past it, Jared, or before it?
Yeah, actually,
Okay. No, that's good to know. I just didn't know. Sidewalk counseling is protected by the First Amendment, freedom of speech. So, you can be out there, you can holler to them, you can, be kind. But if an officer comes and says, hey, you were hollering, you can't be here. Sir, I was just hollering to get their attention, and I can be here. You want to be respectful, and like I said before, if he's going to push the issue, don't end up in jail. And free speech does not depend on the consent of the listener. Like I was saying with the boyfriend thing, if you holler, and he says, well, we're not interested, ma'am, how about you? It doesn't depend on whether he says to shut up or not, because you still have the right to say something and let her know that you're concerned for her. This freedom of access to clinic entrances does not prohibit sidewalk counseling. Well, again, when we talked about the entrances, I just wanted to make sure that you knew. You're waiting on me, dear. I'm sorry. Okay, that you know that just don't go on the property. Don't go try to get in that access to the entrance yourself. Okay, what do you do if a man accompanying a wife or girlfriend becomes angry? Here's what: let them vent, remain calm, get your camera out, and assure him of the desire to help. And that's not just the only thing. It's just an example of one of the things you can do. But it is good to have that camera for anything that if he decides to be real upset. And then a woman becomes angry. What do you do if a woman becomes angry? My approach, and has been beneficial every time, I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you upset or angry. I just want to help, and to stay calm, because she may just get real upset and scream terrible things and just say, I'm sorry I upset you. I'm sorry I upset you. Because that's what our Lord would say. He does not want us. Our Lord is peace and love. And so retaliation in these conversations is not what we're about. And so then another one, the police are called, be respectful, know your rights. We had those discussions. An ambulance comes, get your camera out and take a picture of that ambulance. Then you have it on your camera. You can show women, you sure you want to come in here? Because here's a live picture that I took showing that there are things that make women end up in the emergency room. No. Once it did at the 42nd clinic. I didn't have a camera then. It was like 20 years ago. You didn't have the cameras on your phones, and I didn't think to have a camera. And if passersby say, why don't you go home? Just be polite and say, we're just here to help. And they may even want to engage in a conversation. But make sure it's just a conversation, not a battle. But then this last one, what would you do if you have a save? I must tell you, if you have a save, your heart is going to pound 1,000,000 miles a minute, because it's like, I'm on. Oh, I got a seat now. I was just like, I'll never forget that. It's like, okay. I turned to my partner. I was speechless because I was so excited. And it's just the most amazing feeling. And we got the girl over to Birthright, and that was the time when it was Birthright. And we took her in, and she rode with us over there. And she was from a village, and we talked with her on the way, and I'll never forget, it was with Rita McComas. I don't know if many of you know Rita McComas from Eagle River, but we went with her to the clinic, over to the birthright. And she hadn't had a laminaria. She was just there, just meekly thinking, what else will I do? And she had been paid, it was all paid for by their, village clinic, and her cab, her hotel, the whole shebang. We was looking to like, how did she get that? So, because we're not familiar with any of this stuff. But we did. We took her, and we had a lovely talk, and she just said, gosh, I'm so glad you're, I can't do this. I can't do this. So we said, okay, what do you have in your village to help you? Do you have a little clinic? Yes, I do. Well, they're the ones who told me to have the abortion. I said, okay, maybe you want to wait a little while until you're a little bigger and then go back to the clinic if that's all you have there. And I said, but ask people that are pro-life. Ask them what, advice to do. And I gave her my phone number and my name, and I said, call me if you have any questions on what we can do. I never heard from her again. But
Call the PPC and tell them they're on station and then they're off station. I assume you know they're open, and if you know they're out.
10 to 3, 10 to 4, Monday through Thursday.
You know your schedule, they hold on to it.
They do. On Friday, there's 2 people that go into the office, but they do not take clients in. And I said to her, well, what if I have this situation? She said, well, we'd probably take her in, but we don't schedule anybody. No, I thought, this is just a formality. I'm just going to ask you this because I know you're going to say, well, yeah. But, yeah. So they're very good at being ready to help you.
They said 10 to 4, Monday to Thursday.
Yes, and I've got it written down somewhere on my notes. There's one CPC that I know of. Does anyone know of another crisis?
I don't know if it's a question, but I wanted to bring up the study in the valley here, that the harvest center in the valley is a crisis center. All the things that you talked about with the crisis center, bringing welfare apply as well when the valley.
Oh, good.
And then Eagle River, there's they're actually Parker and Harvard both have tables here. So
Oh, good.
they will be able to do
Some hours and okay. The one that we're talking about is the only one in Anchorage. I must say that there's another. Brought the literature with me, and after the presentation here, we can talk about it. On International Airport Road is a little church that has and I'm not sure if it's still a church attached, but they have I was able to go in and talk with the gal, and she has all these baby clothes and things in the front, and then she has a little partition with a little table and coffee and stuff, and she said, we can come here and talk with girls about abortion. She did that full time. That was about 3 years ago. Pathways, thank you.
I've never been there, but I remember having your information.
Yeah. And I have some of her brochures too. We could see it. It's such a distance though. It's not as readily, available to us. So I'm not discarding them. I'm just saying I just remembered that's all who I had to work with since Birthright had closed. So.
I have one more question for you.
Yes.
Have you ever had people that are there for an abortion say, I'm a Christian and I believe God, but I know that you're not supposed to judge me, and I know that God is. My answer to her would be, are you really listening to God? And if you follow through with this, you know that this little child, the memory will haunt you the rest of your life. You will never be the same. This is such a huge thing that you think is just going to erase. There's no erasing a child. You cannot erase anyone, most especially your own child. That's how I would respond to her. Is God would never want you to do this. Never. I just think it up front. Yeah. Are there any other clinics that involve abortion?
I think the surgery center does, because all of those abortionists went over to the surgery center and set up house. But you cannot get to those people. I called them. I went on their website. I looked for contact me. Nothing. And when I called them, they said, well, who is your doctor? Who would you like to be your doctor? And we will make an appointment for you. You can't talk talk to the office people. This is this. I mean, that's what I found. Maybe they've changed it, but when they set up house over there, it was right on their website. That's where each and every one of them went, and I could not.
Is that probably where they go where they're greater than 12?
Very possible. Very possible. Or even when they are 12 weeks, then they're, you know, maybe a little more sophisticated and they want a pretty setting instead of this, you know.
If there's here in Anchorage only goes up to 12 weeks, then where are the abortions? Either be in the hospital or surgery center. Where else can it be?
Palmer is the only one hospital that I know of that will do that. And they are sending them out to Seattle. Jim? Alaska Regional will do them? When did they start?
Yeah, because with them having surgery there, and the doctor said to not specify it's not possible.
Oh my goodness. When did they start that?
And I do know there is I don't know what it's called, I know the women's OBGYN, that's associated with Alaska Regional, but there is, it's a male doctor, it's an unusual name, but yeah, that particular clinic is very good.
Oh, yeah.
Alaska Women's Health Services, that used to be the main abortion clinic, moved inside of Providence,
It did.
and they claim they don't do abortion, but since they redefined the term, I'm sure they're still involved in abortion. It used to be their main business.
Yeah, I
And
know.
upstairs, directly above them, on the 5th floor, there's a geneticist that helped write a paper pioneering putting potassium chloride into the heart to kill the baby. So at that point, they don't have to call it an abortion anymore because then they're helping the woman remove the dead fetus.
Is that ISADA?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so,
Maybe that's the group I'm talking about is in Providence, but the abortions are in Providence.
and doctor's offices moved out because I called
They moved out of Providence?
Asada's office and talked about specialty, you know, and they said that I couldn't bring my daughter in to get her checked because there has to be something wrong with the
That leads
baby
you,
that leads you. There you have to be recommended by
a high-risk
So
pregnancy.
I asked, okay, which doctors recommend to you? And they gave me a list of about 4 doctors, and I recognized they were all abortionists, every single one. They said these are the people that recommend and refer to come to us, and they said they specialize in babies that have, you know, anomalies.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
it.
I asked, okay, now if my daughter, because I'm a little older, I couldn't see, you know, I couldn't convincingly see the person requesting for myself. And so I said, okay, so if my daughter has a problem with her pregnancy and she gets a referral to you, can you do surgery to correct the problem
In the womb.
the fetus of the baby? And I got an IC. No.
Yeah, no, that's when you
So-
end it all.
That's what leads me to believe
Yeah.
that the Alaska Women's Health Services is still very much involved with
They may be.
abortion. They just redefine the term.
Yes, they may be. Jim was going to say something. Is it like to that? Yeah.
Getting away for the last big boy, and the bishop is Church of Tom. Problem comes under the bishop, and we ask that question, and guarantee that clear. As a few years ago, there is no more abortion performed at Providence. They That was their way of covering it up. That
Yeah.
is not happening.
Yes. Saw that. Yes, we'll wrap it up. There's just yes. I noticed and I thought, just quickly over these last points. What do I do if a man accompanying his wife? Oh, wait a minute. We already did that. If you have the same. Okay. Oh, cool. I think we're about done. What was the next one? Remember your mission. Which one is mine on that? Here it is. Nope. Well, anyway, the sidewalk counselor's principal job is to save the baby from an abortion, and that comes in a roundabout way, however it works out in that conversation. Try to create a calm, trustful environment. You want to move the woman away from the abortion clinic as soon as possible. And evangelization is not the first priority, but it can work into it. And then once you get her to the CTC, leave her there in their competent hands and then go back to the sidewalk counseling. If it's like, if you weren't going to wrap it up already. But because they are very responsible, then you don't have to worry about things that they already know about. It's the next stage, so they can help them with the next. But be sure and give me your phone number. If they feel like they're connected to you, you've helped them change their mind, it's a connection there, give them your phone number and be willing to talk with them anytime they need it. So I think we are out of time, but I'm real thankful that we got to go through this. We were going to have a little skit. Mr. Bird,
7 minutes.
you're on in 7 minutes?
7 minutes.
We can do that in 2. So this was just a little makeshift idea of, what can happen. And this is just a kind of a lot of fun that we decided to try. So, yeah. Excuse me, could I give you this information on women's health issues?
Oh, no, thank you. I'm not interested.
Are you sure? Just read it while you're sitting inside.
What is it?
This is information. I always give a medal. It's called the Miraculous Medal of the Mother of God. She is the best mother ever. And there's a little leaflet that explains the story with her. So, and it's been blessed. I always give that first. This is milestones of the early development of a baby.
No, thank you. I'm fine, thank you.
You want to just take it then? I won't explain
I
anymore.
Why do you do this? Why do you do it? Stand here and judge people.
I'm
Go
not.
in. Because you don't know everybody's life circumstances.
You're right. I don't know your circumstances. I'm just here to see if I can help you.
I don't need help. I've already made my decision. Thank you.
Have you got all the information about what kind of abortion you're going to have? Are they going to
My
suction?
boyfriend is in this. He wants me to do this. I'm going to do it.
Do you know that he probably won't be your boyfriend next month?
It won't be anyway. I don't do it.
So would you rather be without a baby, or without a boyfriend, or without a boyfriend and have a child, or even give your child up as a gift to someone? There's so many different answers. You don't have to do this.
I've made my decision.
All right, go ahead. I'll pray for you. Thank you for
Have
talking.
information on adoption?
I do. Not in this type of honey. But I'll get some. You did that to me before. Everybody laughed. I had some. I thought, well, I'm sorry. I forgot. I said I'll get some. Sure, it's right in there. Yeah, have all the stuff you need, and adoption is a biggie. And I've got it here.